Hello from Gardening at Douentza in Ireland, and this is an update of my orchids in the greenhouse and a few other greenhouse things. And in we go to the greenhouse, and just before we go down there to have a look at the Cattleyas, which I'm sure is what you all want to hear about, we will just stop and take a look at another beauty that is in full flower at the moment. And this is an Epiphyllum cooperii, and they produce flowers that are quite short-lived. I'm just going to move the Syningia down here so we can have a look. And that was probably a bad move because it was resting on that plant. But look how enormous the blooms are. And this plant is only going to produce one bloom for me this year. I'm going to try and put that back in there to prop it up, because it really does look good propped up. And it's a magnificent one, and they last for such a short time that I'm lucky I came out and spotted it today before it went over. When I came back from the north of Ireland, I did notice a large bud here, but then I forgot to get it, and there we have it. So that's Epiphyllum. I'm just giving you a detailed view of the inside of the flower. And what else have I got to show you before we move on to the Cattleyas? Oh yes, well, it's been an amazing year for the Crinums. My one outside has flowered and flowered, so many flowers, never saw as many before, and I guess it's to do with the sunshine. Now here we have one of two Crinums that I bought at the Bloom Show a few years ago, and wow, that's really looking good too. And over the other side, a second one that I bought in the same batch, and they really are looking fantastic. And up above this Crinum we find the Agapanthus Queen Mum that I featured before, and I was asked to show it when it was in full flower, and I guess that's about as full flower as you can get. Now, as you can see, it's bicoloured, so there is blue and white in those flowers, and it's absolutely magnificent. Now, I've heard mixed reports as to its hardiness in my part of Ireland, so I'm not quite sure whether to put it in the ground, but whether I decide to do or not, that will be next spring that I do it, so it's going to overwinter here in the greenhouse. And I guess that sort of brings us to the Cat-Lair Orchids, and we'll go down and have a look at these. Now, what I wanted to say was that watering the orchids has been so much easier since I have them out in the greenhouse. It takes me simply 50 minutes to water them here in the greenhouse by moving them out on the grass, and as you saw me do in a previous video. And feeding them takes just an hour, so I do waste some feed because I don't reuse water. I just pour the feed in water through the plants and let it soak into the grass afterwards, but like 1 hour is very short time, so I'm really enjoying having them in the greenhouse despite the fact that they're out here to get more light and to bloom more readily during the year. But anyway, so that's one thing. Now, the other thing is that I have realized that the night temperatures are dropping, and soon we're going to have below 10 degrees at night here in the greenhouse, and that really isn't satisfactory for Cat-Lair orchids. So in theory I should move them in, but given that the watering is so easy, I think I'm going to try and extend their period in the greenhouse by closing it up at night to just conserve some heat. So that means closing the windows here at the top and the door there at the front, and presumably that will give me a well, a higher temperature, and I can just keep them out here that bit longer, because the minute they move inside, I know what I'm like, they won't get fed anymore because it's just too cumbersome and too difficult, and I want to give them as much feed and as much light as they can so that they'll reward me as best they can come autumn and winter. And as you can see, the colour of the leaves of these orchids, it's quite light green, but it's certainly not as yellow as you saw last time round when we were in here having a look at the orchids with Bumblebee, and that's because we have less sunshine now as we're getting towards the end of August. Certainly the temperatures here in Ireland have gotten a lot cooler, so I mean that's good, I guess, in a sense, although we do still have some that are sunburnt, obviously, because that never gets better, and some yellowing leaves. And I guess that's all I really wanted to say about the orchids, except that there will be an addition to my grow room this autumn, something that will help with light, and you will learn more about that in my next video. Okay, so just panning up here along the greenhouse and at my other plants, which are all looking so well, and finishing here at the top. And that's all I wanted to say for the moment, so thanks very much for watching. I hope you'll check back again soon for the next video, and in the meantime, happy growing.